Have you ever seen your cockatiel come close, look at your hand, and recoil as if it remembered something? It seems indecisive. It seems like a tantrum. But this back and forth is a test, and it's much smarter than most owners imagine. Because before trusting you, your cockatiel is trying to figure out one very specific thing. Are you predictable, or are you impulsive? Do you respect its no, or will you insist until it gives in? This is the kind of detail that changes everything in the mind of a small animal, which has learned in nature that a second of error is costly. At first, it doesn't test with courage. It tests from a distance. From afar, it observes you as if it were just standing still. But it's not an empty pause. It's information gathering. It notices the way you walk around the house, the sound of your footsteps, the noise of the seed bowl, your tone of voice when you talk to it and when you talk to someone else. And most importantly, she pays attention to what your hand does when you want something. Now let me ask you something very direct. While you watch, tell me in the comments what test your cockatiel most often does with you. Does she recoil when you offer your finger? Does she peck lightly and fly away? Does she accept food but not let you touch it? Write about how it happens at your house, because I'll be reading, and you'll start to notice patterns you never connected with. Because the most common test is this: approach and retreat. The cockatiel takes 2 short steps on the perch, stretches its neck, tilts its head quickly, and stops. Sometimes it lifts a foot, as if to climb onto your hand, and freezes. Many people think she's afraid of your finger. But, often, she's measuring you. Measuring your reaction to her timing. And here's the first point where almost every owner gets it wrong. The owner thinks the goal is to get the cockatiel to perch on their hand. But, for the cockatiel, the goal is different: to find out if you will respect the distance. The mistake is wanting to solve the situation quickly. You stretch your finger closer, you watch it retreat, you say come, come energetically. You give it that little nudge trying to convince it, and the cockatiel learns a simple lesson: when I retreat, you advance. Think about how this sounds to an animal that, by instinct, needs to control its escape route. If every time it tries to gain space you take that space back, it doesn't feel like it's communicating with you. It feels like it's competing. And a cockatiel doesn't win a dispute with a human. So what does it do? It stops trying. It becomes more distant. Or worse, it starts accepting food, but with a tense body, just waiting for the moment to leave. And there are small signs that show this, but we almost never learn to read them. Pay attention to the crest. When it's really curious and comfortable, the crest isn't too flat or too pointed. It's kind of soft, semi-lowered. When the crest is fully raised and the body is erect, with a long neck, it's not cuteness. It's alert. It's as if it's saying, don't do anything sudden now. And then comes the part that changes your relationship with it, the emotional control test. This is the secret test that almost every owner fails. It approaches. You feel happy. You think, now it's going to work. Your body changes. Your shoulder rises. Your breath catches. Your hand tenses. You smile, and without realizing it, you tilt your face. You get closer. But for the cockatiel, this micro change is huge. She notices it instantly. She sees your eye focusing on her. She sees your hand stiffening. She senses that you are trying. And that's when she backs away. And that's where the test comes in. What do you do when she backs away? Most owners do one of these 3 things. Chase with their hand, trying not to lose progress. Give up at once and walk away, frustrated. Laugh and try again faster, as if it were a game. To her, all 3 responses say the same thing: you are unstable. And a cockatiel doesn't surrender its body to something unstable. Climbing onto your finger is a huge gesture. It's not just climbing. It's being on top of you. It's accepting that it can lose with it there. It's accepting that it can lose its balance. It's accepting that its escape route, at that moment, depends on your behavior. So it's not about affection. It's about safety. Now let me show you another part of the test that few people notice: the exploratory beak. Many people call this a bite. But, in many cases, it's not aggression. It's reading. It touches its beak to your skin as if to say, how will you react? Because what scares them isn't the hand. What scares them is the human reaction. If it touches lightly and you jerk, pull your finger away, and make a face of pain, it learns that you are explosive. If it touches, and you hold too firmly, it learns that you are too clingy. So, before trusting its body, it tests your predictability in detail. And here's a simple, somewhat harsh truth. Sometimes your cockatiel isn't afraid of you. It's afraid of the version of you that appears when you want it to trust you. Because we change, we try, we get excited. And this excitement changes our energy. So what's the answer that passes the test? It's the most counterintuitive answer. When it backs away, you don't chase after it. You don't demand. You don't make a scene. You stay. Hand down. Finger still. You let it return by choice. And when it returns, you don't celebrate with your body. You remain the same. You prove, with your body, that it can come and go without losing control. That's huge for it, because in its mind you just said, I don't need to beat you. You just said, I can handle your time. Now there's a specific moment when this test becomes very clear. It's when it lifts a foot and pauses. That's almost like a continue or abort button. And what makes her abort isn't the perch. It's you changing state. Your hand trembles, your finger rises, your face gets closer. And that's it. She takes a step back. Sometimes she lets out that little cry, or makes a low squeak, or just stays still. And you think, I messed up. But, in reality, she just recorded data. She's doing something very similar to what we do with people. You test how much you can trust. Except she does it without words. And now comes the emotional turning point of the video, because this is where you realize that your cockatiel isn't passive in this relationship. She's not just reacting to the environment. She's actively training you. Yes, training. She creates a scenario, approaches, retreats, touches with her beak, waits. She observes you, and she adjusts her next step based on your performance. If you respect her, she allows herself a little more. If you insist, she creates more distance. This is a negotiation. It's a conversation of trust. And when you understand this, you stop seeing these moments as failure and start seeing them as progress. Now let me tell you about a mistake that seems affectionate, but destroys this process. The hand out of nowhere. The owner appears with their hand from above, quickly, wanting to pet her head. The Cockatiel sometimes accepts, either because it's frozen or because it's learned that running away doesn't work. But inside it doesn't relax. It only tolerates. And tolerance isn't trust. Trust appears when it chooses to approach with a relaxed body. And how do you see a relaxed body? Notice 3 things. The belly isn't glued to the perch as if it were sticking to avoid falling. The tail isn't rigid, pointing backward like a rudder ready to take off. The crest isn't in maximum antenna mode all the time. When these 3 things soften, it's because it's letting you in. And there's another, even more secret test, the non-demanding hand test. You offer your finger, but not as an order. You offer it as a possible place. And you don't keep adjusting your finger to fit it. You maintain consistency, always at the same angle, at the same height, for a few seconds, and slowly withdraw, without frustration, without insistence, without staring too intently. This detail about the gaze is huge. Predators stare. Friends alternate their gaze. So, if you're staring at your cockatiel with that, go on look. You're unintentionally putting pressure on it. A good strategy is to look lightly, look to the side, look back. Be light in your gaze. And now, the part you'll recognize, the day it goes up, and then immediately comes down. Many people think this means it gave up. But often, this is the most beautiful test. It went up just to see if it could come down without being stopped. It performed a micro act of courage, and tested if freedom was still there. If at that moment you clench your fist, you raise your finger, you try to hold it, you celebrate and call someone, it learns. Going up means losing control. And then it goes up less the next time. But if you let her land without comment, without chasing, without trying to take advantage, she learns the opposite. Going up is safe because I still have a choice. And choice is what transforms a wary cockatiel into a partner. And here's an image that helps a lot. Think of your cockatiel as giving you an invisible contract. Each approach is a clause. She says, if I get within 20 centimeters, you don't advance. Then she says, if I touch her with my beak, you don't explode. Then she says, if I go up for a second, you don't trap me. You're signing this contract with behavior, not words. And the craziest thing is that, when you sign it, she changes quickly, not because you dominated her, but because you became trustworthy. Now, to help you apply this in a simple way today, I want to give you a short step-by-step guide, the way it works in real life. Choose a calm moment of the day. No visitors, no loud noises, no rush. Sit down. Don't stand. Your size matters to her perception. Keep your hand low. A high hand seems like a trap. Offer your finger for a few seconds, and move away slowly, always the same way. When she backs away, you don't follow, you wait. You let the silence breathe. If she touches you with her beak, you don't pull. You relax your finger as if it were wood. And there's a phrase you need to remember. Victory isn't her climbing up. Victory is her testing you and concluding that you passed. Because when you pass, something delicate happens. She starts looking for you. You'll notice she stays closer for longer. You'll notice she makes that little quiet chirp or a small whistle and looks at you. She'll start approaching without needing food. And that's the point where your relationship truly changes. And if you want a final, very specific sign that trust is turning into a bond, she will choose to stay close to you even when she could go somewhere else. She doesn't stay because she's trapped. She stays because she decided to. That's huge. So, the next time your Cockatiel goes back and forth, don't call it fear. Call it a conversation. She's saying, I want to, but I need to see who you are when I say no. And now I want to close with a question for you. What is the moment when you most lose your temper with your Cockatiel? When she bites? When she flies away? When she screams? Comment below, because I'm going to use the most common situations to create the next videos, and maybe your case is exactly what most people are experiencing in silence. And if you were left with the feeling of, oh my god, so she was evaluating me this whole time, stick around. Because in the next video I'm going to show you the sign she gives when she trusts you, but is still jealous of your attention.